Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is One Day Today. We are on episode number 85. Who am I, and what am I doing here? Why am I here? That's a question I would often ask myself, especially before this whole journey began for me. And I guess the journey has always been happening, but I didn't realize it until I was really willing to look beyond my own identity. I've shared this a lot. Growing up, my story has been I don't fit in. I don't belong. I don't know where I'm supposed to belong. I felt different. I would spend all my life, living like a turtle in a shell, afraid to share myself and be myself, and trying to be accepted, trying to look good, avoiding looking bad, and just so terrified of rejection or what I made rejection mean. But who am I? Why am I here? And it's like, as I look into that, and how I've seen myself and I've seen the world and my ideas about myself and ideas of the world, I realize I thought myself into a prison. I constrained who I am as my word and as a possibility to these limitations of the fears that the past, I carried from the past. And that's where we hold this space, is really to share people who are committed to something greater than themselves, but also have gifts that, despite what's happening in the world, despite the polarity and the civil unrest and the pandemic, there's still people doing amazing things. And unless you look for them, you're going to hear all the news and you're going to hear all the negativity on Facebook, and you're going to see that because that's all you're looking for. But when you look for the beauty and know that there's always, even in the ugliest of situations, there's always beauty to be found, that's where you really experience just the gems of humanity and that how beautiful humanity is when we're willing to look for it. And that's what this space is holding, is we want to focus on the beautiful humans who are committed to something that makes life better for us all. So welcome. Now let me say hello to my dear friend and co-host Matthew. What's up, buddy? How's it going today?
All in all, not too bad. Definitely feeling a bit of a low energy day today. Like just sitting with a
I
little bit of
got
a headache.
that.
Yeah, like just I kind of want to go take a nap instead of being here, but like I have learned from past experience that, that is just one way I tend to escape. Like when
Totally.
I'm feeling hurt, when I'm feeling pain, like I want to go sleep. And um it's often been being here to hold this space that has reminded me why it is worth showing up all the time.
Mm.
Because I never know what's going to happen. Like, I never know what's going to happen. And when I'm open to that, when I'm prepared to receive that, even when I'm in pain,
Mhm.
I often get the most unexpected and beautiful gifts. So, hi, I'm here.
I
Let's
love it.
find out what happens today.
I kind of want to. Hi, Jamie Lynn. I want to dive into that for a second because I feel like, I had the same experience like when I woke up today. Like, before, like I have this thing where I'm looking for, like, before I even process the day, my phone's next to me, and I'm like, I woke up this morning with this like despair and this dread. And I was talking to Mike earlier on the phone about this, but it's like I'm looking before I even have like a thought to process. I wake up with this like, there's something, I'm looking for something to be wrong. I'm looking for something. My identity is looking for something that I can feel bad about. And it's like, and it's so interesting because that's autopilot. And I don't feel like I'm the only one, but I feel like that's a very human thing, that like we're addicted to being who we're not, to our identity. We're addicted to drama or something being wrong to fix. And it's like, I woke up this morning and I was just looking, I just remember before I even looked at my phone, it was like, I felt that pulling, and it's like, I think that's something that we have that choice. It's like in those moments where we are pulled to just want to sleep in or hide or run away. We all have different ways we respond to those moments. But like when we can actually choose in the face of that, I feel like there's a power that goes beyond, I could have let today be bad if I followed that first intuition and that first thought. But, when I like sit back and like, what am I committed to? Like, what am I promising to myself? What am I promising to, just what I said, like last episode, I said, like, I'm going to make an impact with somebody today. And I like wake up with that, even when I feel crappy and I want to just sleep and I want to just like, no, I don't feel like it today. Like when I can still get up and do it, like the experience of myself and the experience of the world is like, I could have a love affair with the unknown.
Yeah. And, it's pretty amazing just how powerful even noticing that is. Like for you, it's that story of like, I'm looking for something to be wrong. For me,
Yeah.
it was the question of, well, what's the point? Like, I remember, last time I was on Hawaii, I was here for the summer last year. And I got to a point where I didn't even want to wake up in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I started just paying attention to the story and the conversation that was happening in my head. And it always started with that question, what's the point? And then the conversation that followed was, it's always the same. Like nothing ever changes. It's just people are just going to keep being people. There's still going to be violence in the world. Nothing ever like, so what's the point in showing up? Because it's always just this bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I actually noticed that conversation and called it out that I was able to see the flip side, which is, well, what is the point? And the reality is, I don't know. And it's from that place of I don't know that curiosity comes up. And it's like, well, okay, let's go find out. But to go find out, I have to show up. I have to be present. I have to get out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
And like literally the next day, it was like, oh, okay, let's go see what's going to happen today when I show up. And I ended up meeting this absolutely amazing person. And like, she was very influential in my life for quite a while. Like we worked through a lot of stuff together. And, it never would have happened if I had been stuck in that place of nothing ever changes.
Mm-hmm. That's powerful. It's like, it's the unknown. It's like the space of stepping into the unknown that allows things to happen that we would never have experienced if we didn't actually just step into that and be willing to choose that. That's beautiful.
I've come to love uncertainty.
She's a beautiful mistress, that uncertainty.
Yeah.
So let's welcome our first guest. I'm very excited to have with us Dr. Marianne Cintron. Hi, Marianne.
Hello.
Thank you for being here.
It's great to hear. You guys are very deep, very deep in your thinking here.
I jumped off the diving board about 10 years ago and haven't looked back.
We like to have fun here. Yeah, we like to dig deep. Why talk about the weather? It's obvious. It's rainy or sunny, but there's so much more depth, and it's more fun. We have fun here. What can I say? So I'm really excited to have you, Marianne. And you do some really amazing work. With people. Unlocking the genius of people with dyslexia, and I'm really excited to hear your story. And you shared with me some about it the other day, but I'm really just thank you for being here, and we're really looking forward to you sharing.
Okay, thank you. I'm real excited to be here because I got a new paradigm in my thinking. For the past 2 years, I've been sharing with teachers and school boards and city councils how we have to pay for teachers to get trained to help dyslexic children in order to stop that school to prison pipeline. But now I have a new paradigm shift because I used to think of dyslexic geniuses like Leonardo da Vinci, Walt Disney, Henry Ford, and I'm meeting people who are adults that are dyslexic geniuses. And I've talked to parents who have dyslexic children. And when I talk to them about helping their kids read, they say, I don't want my kid's brain to change because my child is brilliant. And I'm learning more and more about the brilliance and the brilliant mind of the dyslexic child. So now I come with the title of Let's Unlock the Brilliance of Your Child's Genius Mind. And so we all have gifts, but the dyslexic child has a very special gift. And we're looking at dyslexia like the superpower of a genius. And, you know, my mom always had a negative connotation to an entrepreneur because my dad was in and out of work because of sicknesses. And she always wanted me to go to college. My mom wanted me to either be a nun, being raised Catholic, or be a teacher because they had steady work. You could always count on a job if you were a teacher. And I didn't want to do either. And I went to college. I put myself through college. But at the end of graduating at UC Santa Barbara, Beach City for school, it was so much fun. But I didn't know what I wanted to do with my liberal arts degree. And I had a friend who encouraged me to go into retail, become a buyer. And I'm like, why not? So when I tried teaching, they had me play with little blocks to teach math, and it just wasn't my thing. And I went into retail. I became a department manager. I was in the training program. I was there for about 10 years until I switched to work for General Dynamics. And then I brought my English degree to be a technical writer. And I became a senior writer. And I thought I was tapping into that English degree in a way, which I really wasn't. A technical writer has nothing to do with having an English degree. But I met the love of my life. I met Will there. And we've been married for 31 years now. But I didn't become a teacher until we were married and had a couple kids. And I was a room mom when my kids were in kinder and first grade. And I saw how strategically their teachers were trained to teach reading, writing, and spelling. And my son had a lot of friends who had ADHD, and they couldn't focus and they weren't learning. And I think God just spoke to my heart that I was going to go back to school. I was going to go to school and learn how to be a teacher. And I was going to help other people's kids. I would help my own kids at home, but I was going to help other people's kids. So that was my first call to be a teacher. But I didn't learn about dyslexia until I was earning my second master's. And one of my professors recommended I join the International Dyslexia Association, of which I'm now a board member in the Tri-County branch here in California. But I learned about dyslexia and how the brain is different for the dyslexic child. And then I was a contractor at a private school, and that's when I learned about music and how music paired with reading helps kids accelerate. And that's one of the reasons I connected with you, Abram. I love the fact that you have a musical background. And I'm connecting with people in the music industry because there's 4 areas where dyslexic people really thrive. And that's in the arts. So whether it's music, dance, theater, it's entrepreneurism, it's architecture, and it's engineering. So I've had this paradigm shift. You know, I believe we need to get kids reading by 4th grade because the research says if they're not reading at grade level by 4th grade, they're at risk of dropping out of high school and going to prison. And there's a state back east that even looks at the illiteracy rate of 3rd graders to determine how many prisons to build. And so that's really a sad story. But while college was for me, I know it's not for everybody. And people are realizing that. There's trade school, there's, technical school, but there's also being an entrepreneur. And so my mom always said being an entrepreneur meant you're just unemployed. So that kind of hung with me for a long time because as a teacher, I was a classroom teacher for 10 years, but I was one of those teachers that didn't get tenure because I went back to be a teacher when I had already been a mom. I had already been in leadership roles at my church. So I was already problem solving, and I had relationships with people in the stores, the department stores for children's toys and clothes. So I was bringing a lot of this knowledge into the school system, and I was an entrepreneur as a teacher. And that threatened a lot of people, but I was one of those teachers that didn't get tenure. So I would go to a 2nd district, to a 3rd district, And I knew every district I was going to be in was going to get me closer to where I know God wanted me to be. But anyway, I'm seeing the giftedness of dyslexic children. And I think parents really need to realize that they need to be supportive, and they need to look for that gift in their child, and they need to bring it out, give their child opportunities. They need to see where their children are enthusiastic. And I want to share a story about my son, Richard. He's 29 now, but as a young boy, he always liked watching digger trucks and construction and things moving and machines. And I remember we would watch Kaiser Hospital for 3 hours being built, and the cranes were moving and the trucks were moving. He was fascinated. Well, we thought he would be an engineer because he's loved Legos. He loved building things. And he went to college for 5 years, and he just couldn't pass Calculus 3. And finally, he just told my husband, who's also an engineer, he said, he told my husband and I don't want to be an engineer. I don't want to be in an office like his older brother. I don't know what I want to do, but I just don't want to be an engineer. And we said, okay. And you know what he's doing now? He's a crane operator, and he loves it. So I just think, he's lifting things and participating in the building, and he really loves it. And I think understanding your child's enthusiasm when they're little, and it could go in different ways, but giving that child the nurturing and the counsel and guidance that they need. And then I like to talk to parents about the neuroscience of the brain, that the brain can be retrained. So the dyslexic child is very creative, but they need a multisensory reading program to learn to read. And that's a very unique reading program that people need to be trained how to use this. Because, I speak at different platforms, and I ask parents, do you learn best by seeing something? Do you learn best by hearing something? Do you learn best by touching something, like hands-on? Or do you learn best by speaking? Because sometimes we'll solve our own problems just by speaking to someone. Well, that's what we call a multisensory approach to learning, because you're working to a child's strength as well as to their weakness. And this can be paired with music, and it has a dynamic effect. And that's based on the neuroscience of Dr. Roger Sperry, who was known for the split brain theory. He severed the central part of the brain of seizure patients, and he worked with the left and the right side of the brain independently, and the seizures stopped, and these people could function properly. And he said back in the early 1960s, if educators could take this information into the classroom, we could help kids that had word blindedness. Well, that's what it was called before it was called dyslexia. So that's what we do. My husband and I developed a music app, and my husband had a strong prompting in the early one morning a couple years ago at 4:30 in the morning to build the music app. And we talked about it, and we felt it was God calling us to build this music app. So it plays classical music in the left ear, and it plays spelling exercises in the right ear. So two parts of the brain are functioning at the same time, but the information is crossing to the opposite sides of the brain. And it has a phenomenal impact on the students who use it. So we're seeing 1 to 3 year gains in reading in just 6 weeks or 30 sessions. So I would just encourage that. And then we talk about success. What does success look like? It doesn't mean having a degree. It means being where God has put us with our unique gifts and talents, and enjoying life and waking up every new day that you're going to impact someone's life today. That's how I wake up today. Whose life can I change today? How can I have an impact? How can I make a difference? And I do give God the glory for giving me the talents that I do have. And I won't take one step in front of the other until I know he's directing me, because I've tried it my way and my way doesn't work. And so rather than go to the teachers and the school districts, now we're going to the parents. And we're saying, let us relieve you of the pain that you have in your home because your child can't read and their self-esteem is really low. We want to build their self-esteem, let them realize their real potential, and have success in school and in life. I guess that's a good closing.
There we go. Hello. Thank you, Marianne. It's really, I love it. I love that you have such a passion for giving, children with it's, I always love, I love this, like the story of what society will say is that's bad. Like we'll do this to a lot of, disorders, or, we'll say it's like, this is a bad thing. And it's like you flipping it on its head and like saying, well, this is actually a superpower. and here's how to feed that, and to actually, for us all to, it's like for children to have self-esteem, to be able to function on a greater level, and whether it's creatively, intellectually, spiritually, all areas of their life. But you're giving everybody the gift by helping unlock the genius in people who maybe in the past would be signed off as, oh, they're dyslexic, and we were so quick to sign some, like, just shrug people off. It's like, oh, they have this, and it's like there's actually a beauty and a genius to be discovered in that. And I see that's such a universal thing, and I just admire you're finding the power and the strength in what society would say is an ailment.
Well, what I found was real interesting were some statistics. I used to just look at the negative statistics, but I'm seeing some new statistics that 40% of self-made millionaires are dyslexic, and that 35% of the entrepreneurs in the United States are dyslexic. And if we recognize that, we don't mind if our child doesn't go to college. And at the same time, the flip side of those statistics, 88% of the juveniles in our juvenile court system are illiterate. And 35% of high school dropouts are dyslexic. So we've got to help these dyslexic kids, because we don't want them dropping out of high school. We really want to help them. In the prisons, 66% of the people are illiterate. So I see that there's probably a lot of genius locked up in these prisons, because their gift wasn't recognized. Maybe they had poor self-esteem. Maybe it was environmental. They didn't have the support from their families, but they went to groups that acknowledged them and gave them kudos, and they got into crimes and, thievery, whatever they got into landed them in jail. But they should have used that creative genius in a more beneficial way to change lives.
Yeah. Go ahead, Matthew.
I kind of feel like this may come across as a bit of a challenge, and I don't mean it as an attack. This is simply a question that I've been sitting with for the last while, and I don't have an answer to it yet. So,
you're scaring me.
There was something you said at the very beginning. You said, you're meeting parents who say, I don't want my kid's brain to change, because I appreciate the genius they have. And that really hit home for me. That is not something that I hear a lot from most people. Most people seem to be still that mindset, like that we've been talking about, that, these are the things you have to do to fit in society. And while that yardstick has changed, we're not demonizing left-handed kids anymore, and we're not demonizing redheads anymore. Like, there's still very much this round hole that we're trying to fit square pegs into in society. And so just having that voiced, like hearing parents say that, really touched me, and I really appreciate that. But this leads to the question that I've been sitting with, which is, if a society is capable of caring for every individual within that society, but chooses not to, is that society worth perpetuating or participating in? And when I look at all the research and all the data and just my own intuition and gut, everything in me and everything that I see points to, yes, we can take care of every single person in the society if we choose. We as a society have not made that choice. And so I hear things like, 80% of high school dropouts are illiterate. And I wonder in the long run if that's not actually for our benefit. Schools these days don't seem to educate so much as they indoctrinate. And there seems to need to be a certain level of rebelliousness in the younger generations to affect change and to affect positive change in society. I'm wondering if it's time to start encouraging completely different points of view. Like, instead of encouraging the modern education and continuing down this path, start looking at what you were saying earlier, which is, what are you enthusiastic about?
Well, homeschool has been really popular just for that reason. A lot of the parents haven't seen the school as meeting their child's needs, and remediation isn't even sufficient. The teachers aren't being trained. And, it's funny when you come out of I'm going to take these off, come out of a credential program and you're taught all these creative things to do, and you go into the classroom and you can't do it, or your creativity is a threat to someone else who didn't learn that. I went my very first year as a teacher, we had a woman who was the retired union president, and we had a new principal, and she moved everybody around, including this retired union president, to be with the first grade teachers. And I was a third grade teacher. So I got that union president's classroom. So she was very angry at me for having that position and very angry at the principal. And I brought in all these creative ideas, my dorm, my bulletin board, how to help the kids. Let's go outside. And, and this gal raised up so much stink for me because she didn't learn what I was learning. And anyway, my creativity was just, quenched or squelched. And I think the dyslexic child who needs to be moving and asking questions, he's not successful in the structure of the classroom. Stay still. Don't raise your hand. Don't talk. That doesn't work. They need that ability to be moving and ask questions. And a lot of parents are choosing to homeschool, and even charter schools are a little bit more creative, but not the way homeschool parents can work with their kids. So I think that is a big solution. And it's funny because I had thought about homeschooling my kids before I felt called to go to teaching. So I've always been, I know homeschool kids thrive. They do well. So.
Yeah. And it maybe that's just the first step.
Mm-hmm.
Is getting more kids out of the public education system into homeschooling. As much as I want this to be a fast process.
Nope.
Yeah.
There was a story about a gal named Jillian Lynn, and she had the reputation of being a little wiggle bottom when she was in first grade, and little wiggly. And her mom was really concerned that she wasn't learning. Now, this was in the 1930s, but her mom recognized something was different and was very concerned about Jillian, took her to the clinician, and the clinician said, well, Jillian, stay in this room, and I'm going to talk to your mom, and we'll be right back. So when he left Jillian in the room, he turned on the radio and he left. And they looked through the window and she was dancing away. And he said, there's nothing wrong with her. She just needs to be moving. She's going to be a dancer. And it turned out she was the choreographer for the play Cats and Phantom of the Opera. And that gives me chills because she passed away a few years ago, but look at her legacy. And it was all because somebody cared, they looked into it, and they recognized she had a different talent. And the entertainment industry, we all need to be entertained, right? It helps calm us down. And anyway, she has a great legacy. And she had to do something different. And man, we've seen the schools take a lot of the arts out of the schools. And so that's probably one of the big pushes that we need to get arts back in the school.
I see that as a big thing. I think that is a big part of it. The arts, for me, art has a function, like a direct function, but it also has many indirect functions of just, it is an invitation to experience something. Because it's like, as much as how society, I mean, this is a very wide conversation, but how, our intellect and our academics are very essential to growth and to understanding the world and to, commerce and trade and all the globalized systems that we currently have in place. And I see, and the other side of it is, how art in humanities is, I see the first step in inspiring us, and inspire, like art, like it has this function where it breaks us out of our normal thought patterns, where time stops, and it's like there's like this sense of wonder and awe, and it makes us feel and experience more than our minds can even perceive. And it's like, so like art is this invitation, to inspire us. And I mean, and you can be artistic in anything. You could have a desk job and do it artfully and inspire people. So I don't only say just art as a thing, but as a way of being. We can be artistic and creative because we are, inevitably we are creators. And I see that is the access to everything you're sharing, is just like when we can experience the artistic, contributions of all. It's like that's what knocks us out of our old thought patterns. That's what brings about new paradigms. It's like it is art that, it's art that enables the progress of science and development to happen. It's because we're inspired. And it's like and I feel like that's a superpower of humanity. Is like it's like, whether it's Dr. King, whether it's Gandhi, whether it's Jesus, whether it's the old artists of history, it's always a vision that they created that inspired many, that caused them to act and to seek and to discover inside and outside. And I think that's the great invitation of art, and that's and it's like, and what I see what you're doing, Marianne, is very much like unlocking, the genius of many, and empowering people to be able to discover that. And it's like, no, this is not an ailment. This is not a disorder. This is a blessing. And this is something that you can actually make a bigger impact with. And it's like, and I just really acknowledge you for being that for dyslexic people and for the world, because we're all receiving the gifts, all those millionaires that we get to support and, live in the world that we all co-create. And I think it's like experiencing the genius of all is, we all benefit from those fruits.
And, to address Matthew, your comment on the parent not wanting to have their child change, what we need to communicate to them is when the kids start to learn to read, because of the plasticity of the brain, their gifts won't go away. Their creativity won't go away. I have had an adult say, don't let the ADHD kid go on the medicine, because that did dumb him down. And he knew that, and it took away his creativity. But if a dyslexic child learns to read, we're just strengthening that left side of the brain with the multisensory reading program to just increase their self-esteem and let them graduate from high school and then go off on their way to be creative. And there's a gal on my board. Her name is Christina Becker, and she's running for the United States title for Miss USA, but first she's going to compete for Miss California. And she's a dyslexic gal who won the Miss Yosemite title, and she advocates for dyslexia and goes to the schools virtually now and encourages the kids not to give up and fulfill your dreams. But she went to UC Davis and got her Bachelor of Science degree. And now she wants to be a veterinarian. And she works at UCLA in the emergency animal area. But she had to work her own way through college. And she had a lot of support from her mom. But there's ways we can help the kids who want to go to college because they need that degree to be an engineer or to be an architect. There's ways we can help them so that they can have more time to finish their projects. But we're not taking their creativity away when we help them read. It's part of the greatness of our brains that God gave us. The capacity is tremendous. When I first started using music, I was so afraid I was going to hurt the brain when I started learning about it. And I asked a neurologist and I said, is it okay to be doing this? Music in the left ear, spelling exercises in the right ear. He said, do it. There's more to the brain and music than we'll ever know, but just do it. And this was like 20 years ago when I first learned about all this.
That's awesome. Well, Marianne, I really appreciate you sharing, what you're up to and, and your contribution to many and to us all.
Thanks so much.
Unlocking the genius of dyslexics, and it's just I'm really happy that you're here and that you shared with us. We're going to check back with you in just a moment.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Marianne, for being with us. And thank you all for tuning in with us. I just want to take a moment to invite you to share the gifts that you have. What have you faced in your life? What have you overcome? What in the lonesome valley that you may have been lost. You may have felt alone, stuck, scared. We've all had something we faced that, it felt like maybe it was the end all, but somehow you persevered, you triumphed. And on the other side of that, you discovered something way bigger than who you thought you were. And we want to hear your stories. We want to hear what you've experienced and what unlocks your inspiration and passion for something bigger than yourself. And this is an open invitation. This is part of our mission here one day, is bringing you and me and communities together in joyous celebration, unifying humanity in our diversity to create a better world for us all. So now let me welcome our second guest. We have with us Mike Blocker. Mike, welcome. Thank you for being with us, brother.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Hear you just fine.
All right, good. Awesome. Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
It's our pleasure, Mike. Well, I want to hear, I'm really curious to hear your stories, man. So I'm gonna, if you're ready, man, the stage is yours, Mike.
Yeah, I kind of am grateful to be here, and it was a last minute invitation. So my little disclaimers, I didn't really prepare. I'm just speaking from the heart, as Matthew said, and this is a unique format. I don't get to see anybody, see myself. Okay, awesome. So the question that Abram asked me to address on this was to just talk about, what I've overcome. How did I get to be me? What's the message? If I had 8 minutes to share with the world, what would I want to share? So here's what I want to share. I was a kind of a regular kid, normal kid growing up. My childhood wasn't anything great or awful, really, and I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, fresh out of high school, and that was where I experienced another level of racism. I experienced being treated in certain ways and looked at in certain ways that made me angry. I became real angry, and I had the label angry black man, and a little Malcolm X. I was always upset, and a hard worker, good attitude, except I was always angry, easily triggered. And then it got to the point where I got asked to leave a job because of my anger, and women didn't want to date me because I was angry, and some of my good friends was like, "Hey man, you're too angry. You're always angry." So this was the beginning point of me to look at, why was I so angry? Where was all this anger coming from? Why was I showing up in the world as this angry person? So I had to dig deep and realize that I was angry about the way my life had been going. I was angry at the things my parents did and did not do. I was blaming them. I had a victim mindset, and I was really angry. And I knew it was because of things in my childhood, but I hadn't really dug deep enough, to get to the bottom of it. So anyway, what I decided to do, and this was in my early 20s, I decided I didn't want to be angry anymore. I didn't want to show up as the angry person. So I had to figure out on my own. I didn't go to therapy or counselor or anything at this point. I just wanted to read books and try to figure out how to let go of being angry. And so the first thing I did was start reading books on how to be positive, Anthony Robbins, Les Brown, Brian Tracy, audio tapes, and it was cassettes back then. And I just started listening to this stuff all the time and putting up my favorite quotes all over the wall and just reading them every day and just, doing anything to change my brain patterns, the way that I think. And so I did this for a long time. And ultimately, many, many, many years later, living on that path led me into transformational work of many types. And now I want to share the overall thing that I learned that has not only transformed my life then, but continues to transform my life from, every stage, as I grow, I just keep developing. So what I have concluded, my 8 minutes. So here's where you get your notepads out and you write down. This is the juicy stuff right here. Your life is a result of your beliefs, or your context, your attitude, your outlook, call it what you want. Your thoughts, that is what determines your life, at least like say 90% of it. And maybe 10% is the circumstances. But most of it is what you say about your life, or about life, about yourself, about other people. Because, your thoughts become things. Whatever you think, you will manifest, you will attract. It's an energy. And once I discovered that, then I started to go, oh my God, I'm generating this life. I'm creating this life. So the way I like to describe it to people is that your life is a movie. Everybody's life is a movie, their own movie. And you're going to play your movie on your screen, right? And you, as in my case, I was the writer, producer, director, leading man, and the casting director in my life. Okay, because my thoughts is when I write my life. That's me writing it, and then the actions and the stuff I go out and do, the decisions, that's me directing and producing my life. And the people that I choose to have in my life, that's where I'm the casting director. Oh, I want you in my life. Come over here. Nope, I don't want you in my life. I want you in my life. Okay, so we pick that. And your internal conversation, your internal roommate, that voice in your head, that can either be the antagonist of the story and just mess things up, or it can be your best supporting actor or actress. It's up to you. Whatever you say to yourself is going to determine how your movie, and your thoughts is going to determine how your movie turns out. And one day when I got this concept that my life is a movie and I am creating it, I looked at the movie I was in and I'm like, this is not the movie I want everybody to see. This is not the movie. I got to rewrite my movie. So we went in the room and start rewriting my movie. Okay. Because I want, at the end of my life, I want my movie to be so awesome. As Tracy Morgan said, I want an EGOT for my movie. I want an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony. I want my movie of my life to be awesome. Okay. And so I'm working on that a lot now, rewriting my movie, creating it the way that I want it to be. And one other thing I want to share is I always look to, and this is addressing some of the things that you were talking about earlier, I try to look at life and get to the bottom of things, the root of things. So Matthew was talking about that attitude he had of how, what does it matter? Life's never going to change. We can't, that despair about the reality of the world, the conditions of the world. And I used to live there. That was also part of the reason why I was angry, because I thought this world was so messed up. I'm like, how are we ever going to change it? And what I concluded, to answer your question of, you said something about it, if a society doesn't take care of everyone and that has the ability to do, is that society worthy of being a part of, or participating in? And so my answer to you is yes, because you can't change it by giving up on it. You can't change a system by leaving a system. You have to be in the system, infiltrate the system, and change it from the inside. Most societies die from the inside out, not the other way around. Okay. So what I want to say to address also another huge thing that I've discovered that has allowed me peace in the world and more freedom is I really got clear on that we're all connected. There's one source, and the illusion of being divided is part of the problem we have in the world, is because we see ourselves as separate from everything else. Most people don't realize we're all connected. And if you get that, then you no longer feel the need to do a lot of the things we do that are rooted in, competitiveness and just a lot of the negative things that we do in our world. Like, even, for example, here's a big one that shows up for me. Because we've created this medium called money. Humans are the only life form that have a medium called money, and we've created it as a form of exchange and a system. But we have that medium between us and survival. So if aliens came to Earth, took all the money away, humans would die, and most of the living organisms would continue because they don't need money like we do. We've created a system. We have a lot of systems, and most of them are based upon money. So therefore, this is my view, just my opinion. We are always trying to figure out how we could monetize whatever we have, whatever we learn, whatever we know. The biggest first question is, how do I monetize this? I have this knowledge, I have this understanding, I have this skill, I have this thing. How can I monetize it? The basic view isn't how can I make a difference in the world? Not for most people. Some people it is, but for most people it's like, I have to make money first, then I will. And I suffer from that conversation from time to time myself. But there are times when I'm able to suspend it or give it up. And when I give it up, I really get connected to other people and how I can make a difference. And that helps me. And here's the last thing I want to share. I have a list on my wall. This is what also helps me to overcome and maintain and move forward. I have my 5 core values that I live by. They are compassion, courage, commitment, integrity, and love. I'll say them again real quick. Compassion, courage, commitment, integrity, and love. Whenever I get confronted or come up with a problem, I remember these core values and I go, I have to bring these values to this situation. And when I do that, it gives me peace. The ultimate desire of my spirit is to have peace. And so the more I experience peace, the better I feel. And that's through being loving and connected and being compassionate with other people. So these are the things I've learned that I want to share, that I think if you could grasp some of that, know that you are writing your movie. You are in control of your life. And if you believe someone else is directing your movie, that's when you're in some kind of victim mindset, because you think they're directing your movie, but you're really directing it. You think somebody else is directing it. You're not. So it's your movie. Write it, star in it, produce it, write the movie you want, create the life you want. That's what I wanted to share. And I'm done. If you have any questions or anything, we can keep moving.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for sharing. That's awesome. I love that your life is like a movie, and we have all the role. It's so funny how quick. I mean, all those different like members of the cast or the director, the producer, the actors. I'm just thinking in my own experience, like how I will avoid responsibility for any of those roles. Like, oh, I don't pick the cast, or oh, I don't pick the producer. And it's like how like sometimes it's the whole movie that I'll avoid responsibility for, or it's just like the other pieces. And that's a powerful and analogy, because we are the creators of our own experience. Like even on our worst days or our best days, like we get to choose how we respond to what's in front of us and what's happening. And maybe we get the girl of our dreams in high school, or maybe we don't. But it's like, what did we make it mean? And like, was this the hill to die on? Is this person cutting me off on the freeway the hill to die on? Or is this an opportunity to overcome something that's been in my way? And it's like, and that's that context, as you're saying, is like is such a, it's a great way to really be present to our experience and to actually, you know, there's certain things we have control over. Most things we don't, but like this is the one thing we do have control over, is how we respond and what we create with what we're dealt.
Yeah. I love movies, and when I got that my life was my own movie, I'm like, I'm gonna write a hit movie.
I got this. Yeah.
So yeah,
I love it.
Here's the thing, like, what makes a good movie?
So for me, what makes a good movie is the level of, so I believe this, the most powerful transformational force on the planet is love. Okay. I spent 32 years as a DJ, and I always look for themes, like the undercurrent, and the majority of songs are about love more than any other topic. That's the number one thing we talk about. Love my money, love my car, love the women, I love God. Love did me wrong, love her. We singing about love. All I love freedom, you know. So love is the force. That's the thing that changed me, man. Most of us, if you look at it, we are either living our lives because of something we love or something we fear, like the decision at the root of it. So, you know, love's the light, fear's the dark thing. So the good life is as much love as you could possibly experience. And the highest forms of love come from giving it, not from receiving it. And so many of us think the other way around. We think, give me, if you love me, I'm going to be happy and great if you love me. But it's in the giving. Love is a verb. It's in the, so to me, the best life is to experience the most love by as many people as I am loving to. And through love, you connect with another human being. You create this synergy, this flow. Like when you give love, and to me, that's the first thing I say is the good life. And then how much peace and happiness you can have while doing that. Sometimes loving people is not easy. You know, love isn't always, you know, easy. Sometimes love is hard, you know. So if we can get that, then accept that, you know, I think you have a great life. That's what I think. Works for me.
I feel like you really hit on something there with fear and love. To me, those two words they're more than just emotions. They're states of being. And if I'm existing in fear as fear, then from that comes lack, comes conflict, comes victim mindset, comes cynicism, comes racism, comes abandonment, comes rejection. Like all of that comes from me being in a state of fear. And then love, like you said, love can be hard sometimes. There can be conflict in love. Sometimes someone doesn't want to be loved, and that can bring conflict. But existing as love, in love, for love, comes peace, contentment, joy, happiness, pleasure, creativity. You know, all those things spring out of love. And that right there, fear and love, might actually be the most useful dualistic perspective I have found. You know, we humans, we create all sorts of dualist perspectives, good versus bad, right versus wrong, up versus down, you know, but like fear and love seem to be the most consistently relevant regardless of who I'm talking to.
I would agree with you. And we never get upset by the love we give. We get upset by the love we expect in return. Mm. That's the problem. Yeah. It's like, I did this for you. You didn't. Oh, I'm hurt. You know. So it doesn't hurt. It feels good to give love. It feels amazing when we give it. You just can't be attached to getting it back the way you want it. If you can give that up, man, then you're free to just go out and generate love. So I want to share another analogy that made a difference for me. Okay, you've guys heard of the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle, right? Like 80% of 20% of a company makes 80% of the profit, the top 20%. So this rule is like everywhere, 80-20, right? So I kind of figured this out. 20% of the people on the internet are content producers. The 80 other percent are consumers, right? The 20% that produce are the ones making the money. The 80% are the ones that's paying the money to the 20% that's making it. So I decided I want to be in the top. If you're in the top 20% of anything, you're happy, you're successful, you got it, right? Be in the top 20%. So I want to be in the top 20% of love, which means I have to be a producer of love. When you're a producer of love, you just, hey, Abram, you want some love? You want some love, man? I got a refrigerator full of it in here. Versus when you're the consumer, you're at home, man, I need some love. I'm out of love. Oh my God, where's the love at? It's scarcity, right? So I'm a producer. I have a love producing company manufacturer. It's called The Heart, and I produce love. So I just go around just giving it to people. So now I have an abundance of it. Versus the old me, I was a consumer. And I'm sitting there waiting. Is she going to love me? Are they going to love me? Is that person love me? I was waiting for somebody to give me the love. So that was another big context. Produce it. And this is like producing a movie. In my movie, I have a love factory.
Yeah, I love that specifically because it takes you out of the idea that love is a zero-sum game.
Right.
That there's only a limited amount of love to give.
Oh, not when you're producing it.
Exactly.
You know? That's profound. I no pun intended. I love it. But it's like well, what you're saying, I mean, that is such a great way to sum it up. And it's like, but back to fear and love. It's like those things can't coexist. You can't produce love and fear at the same time. It's like there's a saying, I don't know where this originated, but it's fear knocked at the door and love answered, and no one was there. And like they can't exist together. They can't exist in the same place. And it's like when we were like back, like when we were creating our movie and we were producing it from a place of when our producer has a love sponsorship or has a love well or based in the heart. Yeah. It is infinite because you can love everybody and you can choose to love everybody. You don't have to like everybody, but you can love everybody.
Right. There you go. You got it, man. And that's the stuff I live by, man. And it just it makes a difference for me every day. I just keep practicing having a consciousness of compassion. If you look at all the great, the great spiritual leaders, the Martin Luther Kings, Gandhi, Jesus, they lived in a consciousness of compassion. That's what we loved about them. They had the ability to forgive people in an instant. In an instant, they could just let it go like a little dog, like a puppy. And that's like when you can just, that's no problem. You tried to shoot me, it's okay, I forgive you, but let's go have dinner. Like that takes something, to be like a Martin Luther King but if you're in that consciousness of compassion, it's easy. It doesn't even occur as a challenge because it's just how you look at the world. You see this person as you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's a nail on the head. It's like it's identifying with the other as you and as your neighbor as yourself. And I think that's true power and that's true peace is when in the face of fear you can choose to love. In the face of resentment you can choose to forgive. In the face of ugliness you can choose to see the beauty in the humanity. And it's like for me that's the end credits for me on the movie. I mean, that is what we all, it's like that's kind of what the seeds that we plant in love, for love, that allows, like, whether it's a piece of art, whether it's any act or act of kindness or just holding space and listening for somebody. It's like, that's the seeds that we plant that allows for others to experience that and produce that themselves. And it's like for another to experience, like, wait, I can have a love factory.
Yeah.
Wait, it's like when we realize that, it's like, whoa, I can do this. And it's like, that's that's what, like, that's leadership. And like what you're saying, King, Gandhi, Jesus is like, that's what they did. I mean, in many different ways and in different cultures and different generations, but it's like what they did is they inspired love in the
They were
without, yeah, they were, exactly.
They embodied it. Your being
Exactly.
is more powerful than your doing and your having.
Mm-hmm.
It's your being. And these people had a being that their being was powerful,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So that's it, man. That's
That's
what I got.
so profound. That's so profound, so powerful. Well, before we close, I'm going to bring Marianne back in, and we'll circle back. Welcome back, Marianne.
Hi, I really enjoyed what you said, Mike, and I enjoyed the input from Matthew and Abram.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me. And
I've listened.
learned something from your talk too. I didn't know that stuff about dyslexia. So thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Actually, real quick,
so
what Mike just
I want to hear.
Go
ahead.
Brings us, this brings us back around. This brings up a question for everybody. Actually, in being love. Say it one more time for us, Mike. How did you say that? Like the existing as love or being love?
No, I said to me, there's only two driving forces in the world, love and fear. So everything we do is out of our love for something or the fear of something. Like that's what's driving us. We're being driven by one or two of those states.
Exactly. And the power to switch between those states is mine or yours or Marianne or Abram's, and that exists as thought. So or belief is like, to bring it back full circle, what we believe tends to determine which state we're in. If we believe that we live in a world of scarcity, that there's not enough resources to go around, then that puts us into the fear base, and then everything we create from that is fearful.
Mm-hmm.
If we believe we live in a world of abundance, that there's more than enough, that their resources are plentiful, then that puts us into a state of creativity. Like, okay, there's so much out here. What can we do with it? How can we be? What can we create? And where can we go? And this goes back to that question about society in a lot of ways. Like Mike, you said, you don't feel like you can change the society from outside the society. But if there is no alternative, like, to me, this society is fear-based. Like, it is existing in fear. If we do not create an alternative perspective, which would be love-based, a love-based society, then is it possible for that society to change if they don't see a path towards change? And what can we do? And this is the question I kind of want to pose for all of you is, actually, let me rephrase. What are you doing, or what can you do, or what do you see as possible in being love to create an alternative to the fear-based society that we exist in today?
Okay. So you mean me personally?
Yes.
So my simple answer is to embody love, to display love, to have you ever heard the expression, I can preach a better sermon by my life than my lips?
No, but I like it.
It's just, I just have to live. I just have to be that guy that when everybody sees me, they go, man, that guy's love. Like they go, we just hit it. And by my being it, because my being is way more powerful than my doing and having. Just if it's in my being, then I'll be a clearing for other people to be loved. I'll be that clearing. So to address your thing about, like, we do live in a fear-based world, because defense is our number one budget, right? In America, fear. We have to defend ourselves from the fear of the enemies that we create. And so what I meant by from the inside, we would have to alter. We could have all the peace rallies outside or what we want, but if we don't change the mindset of the people in power who are fear-based, we gotta change them as well, so that they could change the laws and change relationships. Like, we have to work on both fronts, is what I'm getting at. Like, but we definitely have to change the inside. So to sum up in your answer, you just have to be loving and be compassionate yourself, and know that every time someone's not being that to you, it's because they're hurt. Hurt people hurt people. And most of us are hurt kids posing as adults. The majority of us, we're hurt little kids. Our inner child is still wounded. We have all this emotional baggage we haven't dealt with, and it's showing up in our adult relationships. I call us burnt marshmallows. We're all burnt marshmallows. In the inside, we're soft, gooey, sugary, sweet stuff, but on the outside, we're like crusty from life and all the injustice and stuff, you know. So just look at, if Abram give him, say, man, he's just a burnt marshmallow today. I love you, brother. Let me scrape off this and get to the sweet stuff. Come on. So just be loving, and just know everybody wants that. And like you said, some people are, Abram, you said it. You have this fear of having what you want, that perfect love, that perfect. There's a fear that comes up of getting what you want, and we're all afraid of having the love we want, because we're afraid. The first thought is, I'm going to lose it. If I get it, I might lose it. I might mess it up. So that fear kicks in right away. So you got to keep being loved. Keep coming. Return to love. Return to love. Return to love. That's it. Quick as you can get back to love, man. That's the answer. The love game.
Oh,
Beautifully said.
This one, the golden rule always applies: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And I look at people through the eyes of a mother also, and older people, that's someone's son or daughter, you know, when they're older. And so that love of a mother comes through me to them. I look at different kids, and I think God just lets me look at them through the eyes of their mother, and how I want to help them as their mother would want to help them. And I've listened to Les Brown too. He's just a great motivator. And because we're a spirit that lives in a body, and we have a soul. I don't know if you ever heard that analogy. And a spirit of love is in me, and my flesh wants to do bad things sometimes, but I just always pray that spirit of love in me is dominant, and I have to feed my spirit. That's why I read the word, and I have lots of opportunities to give. And the passion that I have to help kids read, it's not anything that I created. I think it's just a call that God has given me. And for such a time as this, am I here to help kids and help parents. So yeah. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The other thing you said, Mike, when you give love to someone, don't expect it back from them. But God will send someone else to show you the love you need. It might not come from the person you give it to, but it does come back to you a different way from someone else. And then when they give it to you, you might not give it back to them the way, you know what I mean? It gets passed around, and we do get what we need, though. God meets our needs.
That's called dharma. And I say God's delays aren't God's denials.
Dharma.
Dharma. It'll come back from another channel. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Marianne. Thank you.
Abram, what about you, brother?
So I love this question, because this conversation is one of my favorites. Like, what am I doing, and what do you like we do? And it's really us being like kind of what Mike was saying. It's like who we're being in the faith. It's like like what he was saying earlier about peace. Like, for me, peace is not the same thing as avoiding conflict. I used to think it was like, oh, I love peace, but I would run every time I was uncomfortable in my own. I would just hide in my own shell. I would be so afraid of discomfort, of the idea of rejection, the idea of not being liked or understood. And I feel like the peace and the love that we share and experience in the world is a reflection of our inner peace and our inner love. And it's like when I can be at peace when I can be at peace in the most seeming chaotic moments, and I can still bring that to a chaotic situation, it's like that's when I can forgive, even when I'm angry or when I feel resentful. That's when I can love, even when I'm afraid or someone is hating me or being violent or trying to be violent towards me. And it's like, if I can see the human, even in the angry, toxic display of whatever someone's just lashing out at me, like Mike said, I don't have to. I can see their hurt. I don't have to see them. Like, I can see them. I don't have. It's like, and the same thing with me. When I experience my hurt, when I experience my pain, my fear, I can see it and not be it. And it's like, that's where the creative. It's like, that's where human expression comes in, and that's what this space is. It's like, when we take the things that hurt us. This is what for music, why blues is so, the emotion and the realness of the authenticity of blues. It's like, here's the pain, here it is. I'm going to put it on this song. I'm going to put it in the page on this art. But in that moment that I'm performing it, in that moment that I'm writing it, I'm not being my pain. I'm not being my fear. I'm just seeing it, and I can share it with full vulnerability and love in the face of fear. And I know, Marianne, I know you have to go. I want to give you a moment to say any last words. Oh, internet's been funky. Marianne, I know you have to run out, but I want to let you say any last words before you have to jump.
Thanks. I do tutor, so I do have to go. 1 minute. People can find me on dyslexia-solutions.com if they want to have any half-hour free consultation, talk to me about their dyslexic child, or what we can do to help you. And I want to thank you, Matthew and Abram, for this opportunity. And Mike, thank you. Nice to meet you too.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
But I'm going to jet out, okay?
Thank you so much, Marianne.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
And Mike, I know you got to run too. So any final words?
I got 2 minutes left.
We'll let you have the last word then, brother.
No, I just wanted to say that, so what I do now for a living, first of all, thank you, Abram, and I want to acknowledge you for what you're doing with the One Day. And I think that's a great, big game in the world to take on. We've talked and you shared with me. And so I definitely want to continue to connect with you and grow. And it's similar to what I'm creating, this thing called Metanoia. I think I told you about that. It's still in the incubator, but it's basically a transformational hub. It's going to be a community where I bring a lot of different disciplines of transformation together, because as we were talking about unity, we all coming together. Here are all these companies or organizations saying, we want to change the world for the better, but we want to do it our own way. We want to do it our way. We don't want to work with the other transformational people who want to save the world. We're going to save it. I'm like, hey, dude, that's all ego. Let it go. Like, what are you talking about? So I want to cut all that out, man. And look, let's all get together and let's go make the difference. So that's what Metanoia is. And I do coaching. I'm about to launch some one-on-one, not one-on-one. I'm sorry. I do one-on-one coaching now, some group programs, some group coaching stuff. In the next month, you're going to see it launch on my social media page. And my name of my company is called thechrysalis-coaching.com, because I say I turn caterpillars to butterflies. That's what I do. You come to me as you might be a pretty caterpillar or a happy caterpillar, but I'll help you be a butterfly, So my website is called thechrysalis-coaching.com, and my social media is under Chrysalis Coaching, is Facebook, and I might block her. So join me, let me know how I can support and be a part. And I got nothing but love for everybody, man. That's me. I'm all about the love, and that's it. And so, yeah, and I don't know you yet, Matthew. It was a pleasure. I know you are a deep thinker. That was very evident. I did some NLP, and when you think, your eyes look up, you're recalling. I'm like, oh, this guy's a deep thinker. He's digging through files up there. He's got something deep. You scared Marianne. She's like, oh my God, what's he gonna ask me? Oh my God. So I'm pretty sure you have a whole lot going on in your brain. So hope to get to know you more, and we talk and just then create, man. We just create.
Yeah, I will reach out to you after the show. Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me. I'll see you around next time.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you, Mike. Take care, brother. And thank you all for tuning in with us. That was really. Thanks again, Mike and Marianne, for joining us in our conversation. I want to again invite you to share your story and what you've experienced in your life that's really empowered you and allowed you to discover yourself, your authentic self. Like, how did you when you were stuck, when you were lost, when you were afraid, you're here still, and you have something to share on the other side of that. What you've overcome is a gift for us all. And I want to invite you to share the gift that you are, share yourself so we can receive you and share you everywhere. And that's what we hold in the space, is to share the gift that you have, because we all are enriched and we all benefit from the gifts you have to share. So this is part of our one-day vision. What we do here, what our vision is humanity rising in a connected world with each person's unique gifts, genius, and contributions are valued and magnified through a higher level of collaboration, producing unprecedented new realms of possibility. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next week. I love you all. Be safe, be well. And as always, one day is today. Peace, everybody.